The one person we haven't heard from about the speaker's fight, very little bit we heard from, but not much, is Donald Trump, the de facto leader of the Republican Party. He's a little busy these days in New York with his civil fraud trial. He has a few more trials coming up. But new polling shows him with the single biggest margin in the Republican primary that he has ever had. He's now 45 points ahead of Ron DeSantis. New polling from Morning Consult shows Trump winning in a number of key swing states by a combined 4 points. That's before his former lawyer, Sidney Powell, will testify against him in the Georgia election case. She pleaded guilty today. Shermichael Singleton is here, political consultant of many campaigns. And I don't know, should we be surprised at all?
No, we shouldn't be surprised. We've been talking about this for several months now, and I think when you take into consideration inflation, you take into consideration immigration, which is a serious problem that even Democratic mayors and governors are now telling the administration they need to do more on. And now, in addition to the Ukraine-Russia proxy conflict that we've entered in, Leland, we now have the issue of Hamas and Israel. And I think you're also seeing a concerning rising number of Americans really at least adopt some anti-Semitic light rhetoric at best, and that's being generous.
I was going to say, you're far more generous than I've been, but let me give you a hypothesis here. The swing state polling is stunning, right? That all of a sudden you've got Donald Trump up 4 points in places that Joe Biden won. And the White House should be concerned. A lot of if you look down in the polling, it's because of Bidenomics. A lot of people saying that they just don't believe in it. They want to change. Right. What's happened, though, over the past 2.5 weeks is that Donald Trump has not been in the news. He's not been talking. He's made some comments about Hezbollah and stuff, but he hasn't been in the news because everybody's been covering real news like war in the Middle East and whether or not we're going to go to war with Iran. Should Republicans be worried that when the news cycle eventually shifts and all of a sudden the media focus goes back to Donald Trump, the same thing that'll happen that happens every time? He's very popular in the Republican Party, and his poll numbers with swing voters go down. Well,
that is a big worry, Leland. And I have to be honest, I am concerned about some of the trials that the former president is facing. You look at early March, I believe, the first trial, the D.C. case pertaining to January 6th, it's going to be in the news for the duration of, 8, 9, 10, 12 weeks. That is going to have a sway on public opinion. You look at what's going on in Georgia right now with Sidney Powell. Once that starts, what is she going to say to implement the former president and alleged criminal behavior? All of those things are going to have an impact on swing voters in those swing states that we talked about. And the issue, I would argue, and I'll close here, is do you run the risk of turning out voters for Biden who so far are saying, you know what, I'm just going to stay home, I'm not happy? If you do, Republicans will lose.
All right, well, that is a fairly direct statement. What do you make? The one thing that Sidney Powell's testimony is going to be different than all the other trials. It's going to be on camera. No one has really ever associated Sidney Powell with credibility. So I'm trying to figure out, if you're the prosecutor down there, and look, you have to, reasonable people can agree this is a concerted effort to go after Donald Trump by the DA in Georgia and by others. How much do you have to sort of overall worry that this is going to all backfire?
It depends on what she says, one. I think, two, it also depends on how many other individuals close to the former president they can flip. And when you're 60, 70 years old and you're looking at 5 to 20 years in prison, the case of Sidney Powell, more than likely, if you're smart, your lawyers are going to tell you need to flip. And so those things are going to matter. I mean, these are people who were advising the former president.
Be interesting to see
whether you look at this through the political lens or not, Leland, what matters ultimately is how do swing voters perceive this? The individuals that are going to flip a state like Georgia, Pennsylvania, Michigan, where you're talking about a difference of 8 to 15, 20,000 votes, those voters matter a lot. And I think if you're a Republican right now, you're still sort of concerned about whether or not we can maintain the White House. Think about the House, think about the Senate. We've heard there's a lot to consider here.
Over and over again, we've seen that when Donald Trump is out of the news, those voters start to like him because they like his policies. When he's in the news and they have to listen to him, they don't.
Because he tweets crazy stuff and he says crazy things. My thing is, Mr. President, just don't say anything. Deal with your legal issues.
Good luck.
And let the rest of us do the political work.
Good luck. Thanks for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to subscribe. Click the red button to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.